The morning started like any other Tuesday for most people on Earth. Coffee was brewing, traffic was moving, and children were getting ready for school. Then the sky changed forever at exactly 9 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Time. Massive objects appeared in the sky above every major city on the planet. They came without warning, without sound, and without any explanation. One moment the sky was empty, and the next moment it was filled with ships that looked like floating crystals, the size of mountains. In Washington, D.C., President Karen Mitchell was drinking her morning coffee when her security detail burst into the Oval Office. Agent Danny Clark, her head of security, spoke quickly into his radio while pointing toward the window. "Madam President, we need to move you to the bunker immediately. There are unknown aircraft over every major city worldwide." Karen set down her coffee cup and walked to the window. Above the White House, floating silently in the blue morning sky, was something that belonged in a science fiction movie. The object was enormous, easily larger than any building in the city. Its surface looked like it was made of crystal or glass, but it caught the sunlight and threw it back in colors that hurt to look at directly. "How many cities?" she asked, never taking her eyes off the ship. "All of them, ma'am. New York, Los Angeles, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. Every major population center has one of these things floating over it. They appeared at exactly the same time everywhere." Across the country in Colorado, Admiral Jake Peterson was in the NORAD command center when the alerts started flooding in. The massive screens that usually showed empty airspace were now filled with red dots marking the location of each alien ship. His staff moved with practiced efficiency, but Jake could see the fear in their eyes. "Report," he barked to the nearest technician. "Sir, 37 objects appeared simultaneously over major population centers. Each object is approximately 2 miles long and 1 mile wide. They're maintaining altitude at exactly 10,000 feet above ground level. No movement, no communication attempts, no energy signatures we can identify." Jake studied the displays. In all his years of military service, he had prepared for many threats. Terrorist attacks, natural disasters, even nuclear war. But floating alien ships had never been on any training manual. "Any hostile actions?" "None detected, sir. They're just there." In New York City, Dr. Lisa Campbell was in her laboratory at Columbia University when her assistant burst through the door. Lisa was one of the world's leading experts on the possibility of alien life, and she had spent her career preparing for this moment. But seeing her assistant's pale face, she realized that no amount of preparation was enough. "Dr. Campbell, you need to see this right now." Lisa followed her assistant to the roof of the science building. Above Manhattan, the alien ship dominated the skyline. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The morning sun made its crystal surface sparkle like a giant jewel suspended in the air. "My God," she whispered. "They're real." All around the city, normal life had stopped. Traffic was at a standstill as drivers got out of their cars to stare at the sky. People poured out of buildings, pointing and taking pictures with their phones. Some were crying, others were praying, and many were calling their families. Ships remained silent for exactly 6 hours. Television news anchors struggled to fill the time, interviewing experts who had no more information than anyone else. Religious leaders appeared on every channel, offering different explanations for what was happening. Scientists tried to remain calm while admitting they had no idea what the aliens wanted. Then, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, every television, radio, and internet connection on Earth received the same signal simultaneously. The transmission began with a figure that was clearly not human appearing on every screen. The being was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to change color like oil on water. It had 4 arms instead of 2, and its face was longer than a human face, with large eyes that seemed too bright. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English, but somehow everyone on Earth heard it in their own language. "People of Earth," the being said, its voice calm and measured, "do not be afraid. We come in peace, with an offer that will change your world forever." In the White House Situation Room, President Mitchell sat at the head of a long table surrounded by her top advisors. General Patricia Hayes, the head of Space Command, was connected by video link from her base in Colorado. CIA Director Ben Taylor had flown in from Virginia, and Secretary of State Mary Johnson sat to the president's right. They all watched the alien broadcast in silence. "I am Ambassador Zeth-9 of the Hegemony Collective," the alien continued. "We represent a group of civilizations that have watched your species develop with great interest. You have shown promise, intelligence, and creativity. But you also face dangers that you cannot yet understand." The ambassador paused, as if giving the humans time to absorb his words. "Your planet exists in a dangerous part of the galaxy. There are threats in space that your current technology cannot detect or defend against. Creatures that travel between stars, looking for young civilizations to destroy. Machines that consume entire planets for fuel. Beings from other dimensions that see your world as nothing more than food." President Mitchell leaned forward in her chair. Around the table, her advisors exchanged worried glances. "We have watched many species like yours disappear forever because they were not protected from these cosmic predators. We do not wish to see this happen to humanity. Therefore, we offer you membership in our collective. We will share our technology with you. We will teach you the secrets of traveling between stars. Most importantly, we will protect you from the dangers that lurk in the darkness of space." On the International Space Station, Commander Alex Turner floated in front of the observation window, watching the alien ship that hovered over Earth far below. Even from his position in orbit, the ship looked massive. But what bothered him was not its size. It was its position. Alex had been a pilot before becoming an astronaut, and he understood tactics. The alien ships were not positioned like explorers or diplomats. They were positioned like a blockade. Each ship covered a major population center, but together they formed a perfect grid that would make it impossible for anything to leave Earth without passing near at least one of them. "Houston, this is the ISS," he said into his radio. "Are you seeing what I'm seeing down there?" "Copy that, Alex. We're monitoring the situation. What's your assessment?" Alex was quiet for a moment, watching the ship below. "These guys aren't here to explore or study us. They're surrounding us." Back in the White House, Ambassador Zeth-9 continued his speech. "We understand that this is overwhelming for your species. First contact with alien life is always a significant moment in any civilization's development. We do not expect an immediate answer. Take time to consider our offer. Discuss it with your leaders, but do not take too long. The dangers we speak of do not wait for anyone." The transmission showed images of space, with strange shapes moving between the stars. Some looked like enormous insects. Others appeared to be massive machines with glowing red eyes. Still others were simply darkness, consuming everything in their path. These are the threats that destroyed the Kepler civilization. These are what ended the great cities of Proxima 7. These are why the Tau Ceti colonies went silent 50 of your years ago. Without protection, the same fate awaits Earth. In homes around the world, families gathered around their televisions and computers, watching the impossible become real. Children asked questions their parents could not answer. Scientists took notes on observations they never thought they would make. Military personnel wondered if their weapons would be any use. Against technology, this advanced. The broadcast continued for another hour, showing more images of alien civilizations and the creatures that had destroyed them. Ambassador Zeth9 spoke of the benefits of joining the Hegemony Collective. Advanced medicine that could cure any disease. Technology that could clean the environment and provide unlimited energy. Travel to other worlds where humans could build new cities among the stars. But through it all, one thing remained clear. This was not a request or an invitation. This was an offer that came with the strong suggestion that refusing it would be a mistake humanity might not survive to regret. When the transmission finally ended, the alien ships remained in the sky, silent and waiting. Earth had been given a choice, but as people looked up at the massive vessels floating over their cities, many wondered if it was really a choice at all. 3 days after the alien ships appeared, the world had not returned to normal. Stock markets had crashed, then recovered, then crashed again. Airlines canceled all flights because pilots refused to fly near the massive ships. Schools closed. In most major cities, because parents would not let their children leave home. Religious leaders held prayer services around the clock, while scientists worked without sleep, trying to understand what they were dealing with. In New York, the United Nations building had become the center of the world's response to the alien visitors. Representatives from every country on Earth gathered in emergency sessions that lasted through the night. Outside the building, protesters carried signs with messages ranging from "Welcome our space brothers" to "Earth for humans only." Police barriers kept the crowds back, but everyone could see the alien ship floating silently above the city like a massive sword hanging over their heads. President Karen Mitchell had not slept properly since the ships arrived. She sat in a secure conference room deep beneath the UN building, surrounded by world leaders who looked as tired as she felt. British Prime Minister Charles Brown rubbed his eyes and spoke for everyone in the room. "We need more information before we make any decisions. What exactly are these cosmic threats they mentioned? Why haven't we detected them with our space telescopes? And most importantly, what do they want in return for their protection?" Russian President Viktor Petrov leaned back in his chair and shook his head. "In my experience, when someone offers you protection without being asked, they usually want something valuable in return. The question is what Earth has that they need." Chinese Premier Li Wei had been taking notes throughout the meeting. "Our scientists have been studying the alien broadcasts. The technology they show us is impressive, but notice what they do not show us. They do not show us their homeworlds. They do not show us their military forces. They do not show us proof of these cosmic threats they fear so much." Dr. Lisa Campbell had been invited to the meeting as Earth's leading expert on the possibility of alien life. She had spent the last 3 days analyzing every second of the alien broadcasts, and her conclusions worried her. "Something about their story doesn't add up," she said, opening a folder full of notes and photographs. "They claim to be protecting young civilizations from cosmic predators, but every image they showed us of destroyed worlds could have other explanations. Asteroid impacts, supernovas, environmental collapse, war. There's no clear evidence that alien monsters destroyed these places." General Patricia Hayes joined the meeting by video link from Space Command headquarters. Behind her, technicians monitored screens showing the positions of every alien ship on Earth. The ships had not moved even slightly since they arrived. "My teams have been analyzing the alien vessels continuously," she reported. "Their technology is clearly more advanced than ours, but not impossibly so. We estimate there may be 50 to 100 years ahead of our current capabilities. Advanced, yes, but not godlike." President Mitchell looked around the table at faces that showed exhaustion, worry, and growing suspicion. "General, what's your military assessment of our situation?" "Honestly, ma'am, I'm more worried about what we're not seeing than what we are seeing. These ships appeared simultaneously across the globe with perfect coordination. That suggests a level of organization and planning that goes beyond a simple diplomatic mission. If they wanted to study us or make peaceful contact, why surround our major population centers? It looks more like the opening move of an occupation than a friendly visit. In Colorado, Captain Bill Rogers was leading a patrol flight in his F-22 fighter when he got permission to fly closer to the alien ship hovering over Denver. As a veteran pilot with 20 years of experience, Bill had learned to trust his instincts about potential threats. And everything about the alien ship set off his danger alerts. "Control, this is Falcon 1, he radioed to the air traffic controllers. "Below. I'm at 5,000 feet, approximately 1 mile from the alien vessel. No response to radio contact. No visible weapons, but the hull configuration suggests defensive capabilities we haven't seen before. Copy that, Falcon 1. What's your assessment?" Bill circled the ship slowly, studying its design through his cockpit camera. "Control, I've been flying for 2 decades, and I've seen every type of aircraft in the world. This thing isn't built like an exploration vessel or a diplomatic transport. The hull is too thick, the energy readings are too high, and those crystal formations on the sides look suspiciously like weapon ports to me." Back at the UN building, Ambassador Zeth-9 had agreed to answer questions from Earth's leaders. The alien appeared on screens throughout the conference room, his forearms moving gracefully as he spoke. His iridescent skin seemed to shimmer in the artificial light, and his oversized eyes reflected the camera lights like mirrors. "We appreciate your caution," Zeth-9 said in response to their questions. "It shows wisdom that your species considers important decisions carefully. However, time is not unlimited. The threats we have described do not announce themselves before they strike." Secretary of State Mary Johnson leaned forward toward the camera. "Ambassador, we've reviewed the evidence you provided about these cosmic threats. Our scientists would like more detailed information about the specific dangers Earth faces. Can you provide us with scientific data about these creatures and machines you mentioned?" There was a slight pause before Zeth-9 answered. "The threats are varied and complex. Your current scientific understanding would make detailed explanations difficult to comprehend. Trust that we have encountered these dangers many times before." Dr. Campbell noticed the evasion immediately. As a scientist, she was trained to spot when someone was avoiding a direct answer. "Ambassador, surely you could provide at least basic information about the nature of these threats. For example, are they biological entities, artificial intelligences, or something else entirely?" Again, a pause. "The categories you suggest are too simple for the reality of cosmic dangers. Some threats exist in dimensions your science has not yet discovered. Others travel through space in ways that defy your current understanding of physics." Prime Minister Brown had spent his political career dealing with people who talked a lot, without saying anything useful. He recognized the pattern immediately. "Ambassador, with respect, you're asking us to accept protection from threats you won't describe, using methods you won't explain, in exchange for terms you haven't clearly stated. In human diplomacy, we call that a bad deal." The alien's expression changed slightly. For the first time since contact began, Zeth-9 looked less calm and controlled. "Your skepticism, while understandable, could prove dangerous to your species. We have observed the destruction of civilizations who asked too many questions and acted too slowly. In a research facility outside Moscow, Dr. Amy Foster was running computer simulations based on the limited information they had about the aliens. As a specialist in game theory and strategic analysis, she looked at the situation like a chess match where she could only see half the board. The mathematical models keep coming back to the same conclusion, she told her team of researchers. Any alien civilization capable of interstellar travel has access to resources and energy that make Earth's contributions relatively small. If they wanted our planet for its materials, They could find thousands of uninhabited worlds with the same resources. If they wanted slaves, they could build robots that would be more efficient than humans. Her assistant, Dr. Kevin Walsh, looked up from his computer screen. So what do you think they really want? Position, Amy replied immediately. Earth's location must be strategically important for some reason we don't understand yet. Maybe we're near important shipping routes, or maybe we're at a key position for controlling this part of the galaxy. But whatever they want, it's not about protecting us from monsters. Back at the UN meeting, tensions were rising as the questioning continued. Ambassador Zeth9 was becoming noticeably less patient with human curiosity. You continue to delay. With questions when action is required, the alien said, his voice carrying a tone that humans interpreted as irritation. Every moment you waste increases the danger to your world. President Mitchell had been listening carefully to the entire exchange. As a politician who had spent her career negotiating with difficult people, she recognized pressure tactics when she saw them. The alien was trying to rush them into a decision without giving them time to think or ask important questions. Ambassador, she said firmly, humanity has survived for thousands of years by being careful about who we trust. If these cosmic threats are as dangerous as you claim, surely you can give us more time to make an informed decision. After all, if we're going to be your partners, you want us to be comfortable with the arrangement. Partners? Zeth9 repeated, the word as if it were foreign to him. The relationship we offer is protection in exchange for membership in our collective. Your world would benefit greatly from our guidance and technology. The word guidance hung in the air like a warning. Around the conference table, world leaders exchanged glances that said they were all thinking the same thing. The breaking point came on the 5th day after the alien ships arrived. Ambassador Zeth9 had grown tired of human questions and was no longer trying to hide his impatience. During what was supposed to be the final negotiation session, his mask of diplomatic friendliness finally slipped completely. President Karen Mitchell sat in the UN conference room with world leaders who had barely slept in days. The alien's image filled the main screen, his forearms moving in what humans had learned were signs of frustration. His iridescent skin seemed darker than before, and his bright eyes had lost their earlier warmth. Your species continues to waste precious time with meaningless questions, Zeth9 said, his voice sharp with irritation. The cosmic threats I have described do not wait for your committees and discussions. You must accept our protection immediately, or face the consequences of your delay. Prime Minister Charles Brown leaned back in his chair and smiled in a way that suggested he was about to ask a question the alien would not like. Ambassador, you keep mentioning these cosmic threats, but in 5 days of talking, you haven't given us a single specific example. Surely beings of your obvious intelligence can provide us simple humans with just one clear description of what we're supposed to be afraid of. The pause before Zeth9 answered was longer than any before. Around the conference table, every human diplomat noticed the hesitation. When the alien finally spoke, his words came out more carefully than usual. The threats are numerous and varied in nature. The expanding territorial claims of competing hegemonic powers, resource conflicts between established stellar nations, occasionally artificial intelligences that have broken free from their creators and seek new worlds to consume. Dr. Lisa Campbell sat up straight in her chair. As a scientist trained to catch important details, she had heard something significant in the alien's answer. Excuse me, Ambassador, did you say competing hegemonic powers? Are you telling us that you're not the only group offering protection to developing worlds? The silence from the alien side of the transmission was deafening. Zeth9's bright eyes seemed to flicker, and his forearms moved in what humans were beginning to recognize as nervous gestures. When he finally answered, his voice had lost its confident tone. There are other collectives in the galaxy. Some are less benevolent than ours. This is why time is so important. If you delay too long, others may make competing offers that would not be in your best interests. Russian President Viktor Petrov had spent his career dealing with international power struggles, and he recognized the pattern immediately. So this isn't about cosmic monsters hunting innocent civilizations. This is about different alien empires competing for control of strategic territory. And Earth is that territory. On the International Space Station, Commander Alex Turner had been monitoring alien communications since the ships arrived. His equipment was designed to intercept radio signals from Earth, but it was sensitive enough to pick up transmissions between the alien vessels. What he had discovered in the past 2 days changed everything. Houston, this is Commander Turner on the ISS. I need to speak with General Hayes immediately. Priority 1. Minutes later, General Patricia Hayes appeared on his communication screen. From Space Command Headquarters. What do you have for us, Alex? General, I've been intercepting communications between the alien ships. They're not speaking to us in those transmissions. They're talking to each other and to other ships that aren't here yet. From what I can understand, there are at least 12 different alien factions monitoring Earth right now. They're arguing about who has the right to claim us. General Hayes felt her blood turn cold. Are you telling me we're not dealing with one alien civilization? We're dealing with multiple groups fighting over who gets to control Earth. That's exactly what I'm telling you. And based on their communications, the Hegemony Collective isn't even the most powerful group interested in us. They're just the first ones who decided to make an open offer. Back in the UN conference room, the questioning continued. Secretary of State Mary Johnson had prepared for this moment by studying every word the aliens had said since their arrival. She had noticed patterns in their language that revealed more than they intended. Ambassador, you mentioned territorial claims and resource conflicts, but Earth's resources aren't unique in the galaxy. Any spacefaring civilization would have access to asteroids and uninhabited planets with the same materials we have here. So what makes Earth special enough for multiple alien powers to compete over it? Zeth-9's expression grew even more uncomfortable. Your world sits at an advantageous position for travel between star systems. The gravitational effects of your sun and the arrangement of nearby stars create what you might call a highway junction for faster-than-light travel. Chinese Premier Li Wei had been taking notes throughout the entire conversation. He looked up from his papers with the expression of someone who had just solved a difficult puzzle. So Earth isn't valuable because of what's on it. Earth is valuable because of where it is. We're sitting on the galactic equivalent of the Suez Canal. The alien silence confirmed what the humans were beginning to understand. This had never been about protecting Earth from cosmic predators. This was about controlling a strategic location that multiple alien civilizations wanted for their own purposes. In Texas, at the Deep Space Communications Array, Engineer Tony Martinez had been analyzing the energy signatures of the alien ships since they arrived. What he discovered made him immediately call his supervisor. Sir, you need to see this analysis of the alien ship configurations. I've been studying their shield patterns and energy outputs, and I've found something important. His supervisor, Dr. Janet Adams, looked at the data displays with growing concern. These energy patterns aren't designed for exploration or diplomacy, and they're definitely not designed to protect against cosmic monsters from outside our solar system. No, sir, Tony replied. These ships are configured for blockade operations. Their shields are designed to contain things, not to keep external threats out. And their weapon systems are optimized for controlling space around a planet, not for fighting unknown alien creatures. Dr. Adams stared at the data for a long moment before reaching for her secure phone. I'm calling the president immediately. These aliens aren't here to protect us from anything. They're here to make sure nobody else can get to us. In the UN, Conference room, President Mitchell decided it was time for direct questions. She had spent her political career learning when someone was lying to her, and every instinct she had was screaming that the aliens were not telling the truth about their motivations. Ambassador Zeth9, she said in the voice she used when she was about to end a negotiation, let me ask you a simple question that deserves a simple answer. Are these cosmic threats you keep mentioning actually coming to attack Earth, or are you afraid that other alien civilizations will claim Earth before you do? The aliens' hesitation lasted so long that several people in the room wondered if the communication link had been broken. When Zeth9 finally answered, his voice carried a tone of defeat. The primary threats to Earth's independence come from other spacefaring civilizations who would not offer the same generous terms we have provided. Yes, there are competing interests in your world. Yes, others will make claims if you do not accept our protection. But we offer the most beneficial arrangement available to your species. The room erupted in angry voices as world leaders realized they had been deceived from the beginning. President Mitchell raised her hand for silence, and when the room was quiet, she spoke in a voice that carried absolute authority. So let me make sure I understand this correctly. You're not here to protect us from cosmic monsters. You're here to protect us from other aliens who want to claim Earth for themselves. We're not choosing a protector. We're choosing which alien empire gets to own us. Own is too strong a word, Zeth9 protested. We prefer the term stewardship. Your civilization would benefit greatly from our guidance and technology. In time, you would become valued members of our collective. General Hayes spoke up from her video link. Stewardship, guidance, valued members. Ambassador, in human language, those are pretty words for slavery. The alien's image flickered on the screen, and when it stabilized, Zeth9 looked different. The friendly diplomat was gone, replaced by something that looked more like a frustrated military commander who had been forced to negotiate when he would have preferred to simply take what he wanted. Your species has a choice, he said, his voice now cold and formal. Accept our generous offer of membership in the Hegemony Collective, or face the alternatives that other powers will impose upon you. We have been patient with your questions and delays, but our patience is not unlimited. Dr. Campbell had been listening carefully to every word, and she caught the most important part of the alien statement. You said we have a choice between your offer and what other powers will impose on us. But what if we choose neither? What if we tell all of you to leave Earth alone? The look on Zeth9's face was one of complete shock, as if Dr. Campbell had suggested something so impossible that his mind could not process it. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a tone of disbelief. The revelation that Earth was caught in an alien territorial dispute changed everything. For the first time since the ships arrived, world leaders understood exactly what they were facing. They were not being offered salvation from cosmic threats. They were being asked to choose their masters. President Karen Mitchell called for an emergency session of what they now called the Global Defense Council. Representatives from every major nation connected through secure video links, their faces, showing a mixture of anger, determination, and fear. The comfortable illusion that the aliens were benevolent protectors had been shattered, and now humanity faced the hardest decision in its history. Prime Minister Charles Brown was the first to speak after. President Mitchell explained what they had learned. So our options are to become pets of the Hegemony Collective, or wait for their competitors to make us an offer we can't refuse. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Foreign Minister Elena Rodriguez from Spain shook her head. We can't fight them. Look at their technology. Those ships appeared instantly across the globe, without any of our detection systems giving us warning. Their weapons could probably destroy our cities in minutes. Could they? Interrupted Colonel Nancy Price from NORAD. She had been studying the alien ships for days, and her analysis painted a different picture than most people expected. Yes, their technology is more advanced than ours, but it's not magic. I've been analyzing their energy signatures and hull configurations. These ships are powerful, but they're not invincible. General Patricia Hayes joined the conversation from Space Command Headquarters. Colonel Price is right. We've been so impressed by their ability to appear without warning that we haven't looked carefully at their actual capabilities. Their ships are big and impressive, but size isn't everything. In warfare, Dr. Amy Foster, the game theory specialist from MIT, had been running calculations since learning the truth about the alien motives. There's something else we haven't considered. What if we simply refuse all offers of protection? None of these. Alien civilizations seem prepared for a species that tells them to go away. Russian President Viktor Petrov laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Dr. Foster, that's like a mouse telling a group of cats to leave it alone. Brave, but probably stupid. Is it? Dr. Foster opened her laptop and began sharing data with the group. I've been analyzing everything we know about alien behavior patterns. Every civilization they've mentioned, the Kepler people, Proxima 7, Tau Ceti, they all either accepted protection or were conquered by force. But notice what's missing from their examples. Chinese Premier Li Wei studied the data on his screen. What are you suggesting, Dr. Foster? I'm suggesting that maybe no species has ever tried the third option. Maybe no one has ever told all the alien powers to stay away and meant it. Think about it. If you're used to dealing with civilizations that either submit or get crushed, how do you handle one that fights back in ways you don't expect? On the International Space Station, Commander Alex Turner had been monitoring alien communications continuously. What he heard in the past few hours supported Dr. Foster's theory in ways that surprised him. Ground control, this is Commander Turner. With an urgent communication intercept. The alien factions are arguing among themselves, and it's getting heated. From what I can understand, they're having serious disagreements about how to handle Earth's delays in accepting protection. What kind of disagreements? Asked General Hayes. The Hegemony Collective is being criticized by other factions for taking too long with diplomacy. Some groups want to move to more direct methods of persuasion. But here's the interesting part. They're all afraid of something. They keep mentioning uncontrolled variables and unpredictable responses. I think they're more worried about how we might react than they want us to know. In a secret facility beneath the Pentagon, Engineer Tony Martinez was leading a team of scientists and military specialists in the most important analysis of his career. They had been given access to every piece of data collected about the alien ships, and their conclusions were surprising. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony announced to the room full of experts, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that alien technology is definitely more advanced than ours. The good news is that it's not as advanced as they want us to think. Dr. Janet Adams, his supervisor, looked up from her computer screen. Explain. Their ships rely on energy shields that have predictable recharge cycles. Their weapons are powerful, but they have significant charging delays between shots. Most importantly, their defensive systems are designed to fight other ships with similar technology. They're not optimized for dealing with the kind of projectile weapons we could throw at them. Captain Bill Rogers, who had been flying reconnaissance missions near the alien ships, joined the discussion by video link from his airbase in Colorado. Tony's right about their defensive weaknesses. I've been observing their reaction patterns when our aircraft approach. They're clearly scanning us, but their responses are slow and predictable. It's like they're following a manual instead of adapting to new situations. Back in the UN conference room, the debate continued as world leaders struggled with the most important decision in human history. The weight of choosing the future of their entire species was visible on every face. Around the table, President Mitchell had been listening to all the reports and analysis. and she could see a pattern forming. I'm starting to think Dr. Foster might be right. These aliens are used to dealing with species that follow predictable patterns. Either you submit to protection, or you get conquered. But what if we don't follow their script? Secretary of State Mary Johnson raised a concern that was on everyone's mind. Madam President, if we refuse all offers of protection, and these aliens decide to take Earth by force, millions of people could die. Are we prepared to take that responsibility? Are we prepared to condemn our entire species to slavery? President Mitchell replied, because that's what we're really talking about here. These aliens aren't offering partnership. They're offering to own us in exchange for keeping other aliens from owning us instead. Dr. Lisa Campbell had been reviewing all the alien communications since first contact began. There's something else we should consider. In every message they've sent us, the aliens have emphasized that we need their protection. But they've never actually proved that these cosmic threats exist. What if the biggest threat to Earth's independence is sitting right over our heads? The room fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. If the aliens were the primary threat to Earth's freedom, then accepting their protection was like asking a burglar to guard your house. Private Joe Adams, a young communications specialist who had been monitoring alien transmissions, had discovered something that changed everything. He was nervous about speaking up in a room full of world leaders, but his information was too important to keep quiet. "Excuse me, sirs and ma'ams," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "I've been listening to the internal communications between alien ships, and I think I know why they're afraid of us refusing their offer." General Hayes encouraged him to continue. "What did you find, Private?" "They keep talking about something they call the human response factor. From what I can understand, every other species they've encountered has responded to superior technology by either surrendering immediately or fighting using conventional military tactics. But they're worried that humans might do something completely different." President Mitchell leaned forward. "Different how?" "They seem to think that humans might use what they call asymmetric aggression patterns. I think that means they're afraid we might fight dirty." The comment brought the first genuine laughter the room had heard in days. Prime Minister Brown wiped his eyes and spoke for everyone present. "They're afraid we might fight dirty? They've obviously never studied human military history." Dr. Foster was frantically typing on her laptop, running new calculations based on this information. "This changes everything. If the aliens are actually afraid of unpredictable human responses, then we have more leverage than we thought. They need us to follow their script because they don't know how to handle it if we don't." General Hayes had been thinking about the military implications of everything they had learned. "We have advantages they don't expect. Human creativity, adaptability, and our willingness to take risks that logical beings would consider stupid. Throughout history, humans have won battles against superior forces by doing things the enemy never expected." President Mitchell looked around the table at faces that had changed from despair to determination. "So the question is, do we choose to be protected prisoners, or do we choose to be free and face whatever comes?" The vote was unanimous. Every nation represented in the room chose freedom over safety, independence over protection. But voting for freedom was only the first step. Now they had to figure out how to tell the most powerful alien civilizations in the galaxy that humanity was not interested in their offers. President Mitchell stood up and walked to the camera that would broadcast her message to the alien ships and to every human on Earth. For the first time since the crisis began, she smiled with genuine confidence. "Ambassador Zeth-9 and all other alien civilizations monitoring this transmission, humanity has reached a decision. The alien response to humanity's declaration of independence was immediate and predictable. Within minutes of President Mitchell's broadcast, Ambassador Zeth-9 appeared on screens around the world, his diplomatic composure completely gone. His iridescent skin had darkened to an angry purple, and his forearms moved in sharp, aggressive gestures. "Your species has made a grave error," he announced, his voice carrying none of its earlier politeness. "You cannot possibly defend yourselves against the forces that will come for your world. Without our protection, you will be destroyed by the first hostile civilization that discovers your location." General Patricia Hayes was in the Pentagon War Room when the aliens' message arrived. She looked at the screens showing the positions of alien ships around the globe and smiled grimly. "Well, that didn't take long. Looks like the mask has finally come off completely." President Mitchell appeared on the main screen from the White House Situation Room. "General, how long do we need to prepare our response?" "Madam President, if we're going to do this, we need to do it fast. Our intelligence suggests other alien factions are already moving ships toward Earth. We have maybe 12 hours before this becomes a much bigger problem." What the aliens did not know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment since the ships first arrived. While diplomats talked and politicians debated, military engineers and scientists had been working around the clock on what they called Project Independence. Every satellite, every space-based platform, every piece of technology that humanity had launched into orbit over the past 50 years was about to become part of Earth's defense network. Commander Alex Turner coordinated the operation from the International Space Station. "All stations, this is ISS Control. Project Independence is now active. Beginning Phase 1 deployment." Across the globe, seemingly harmless communications satellites began extending previously hidden components. Weather monitoring stations revealed sophisticated targeting systems. The Hubble Space Telescope and dozens of other scientific instruments suddenly showed their true purpose as weapons, platforms that had been disguised as peaceful research equipment. Engineer Tony Martinez was in the control center for the deep space array in Texas, his hands flying over keyboard controls that would turn radio telescopes into guidance systems for kinetic weapons. "Control, this is deep space. All telescope arrays are online and locked onto alien targets. We have firing solutions for every ship in Earth orbit." The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. While the aliens had been studying Earth's obvious military capabilities, they had completely ignored the planet's vast network of scientific and communications equipment. Every satellite that had been launched to study weather, map the planet, or relay phone calls could also serve as either a weapon or a targeting system. Captain Bill Rogers was leading a squadron of modified fighter jets that had been secretly equipped with experimental fusion drives. The engines were untested and dangerous, but they would allow human aircraft to reach altitudes and speeds that the aliens would never expect. "Falcon Squadron, this is Falcon Leader," he radioed to his pilots. "Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to show these aliens that attacking Earth will cost them more than they're willing to pay." Dr. Amy Foster was in a bunker beneath MIT, running final calculations on what she called the human chaos factor. "The mathematical models are clear," she told her team. "Every alien civilization operates on logical, predictable patterns. They expect their enemies to behave rationally. But humans specialize in doing things that don't make logical sense." What she meant was that while the aliens expected Earth to either surrender or fight a conventional defensive battle, humanity was about to demonstrate something they had perfected. Through thousands of years of warfare, the art of making victory so expensive that winning became meaningless. The demonstration began exactly 12 hours after President Mitchell's declaration. Ambassador Zeth9 was in the middle of delivering another ultimatum when the first kinetic projectiles left Earth's atmosphere. "You have 6 hours to reconsider your position," the alien was saying, "or face the consequences of your foolish defiance." He never finished the sentence. The projectiles, launched from locations around the globe, were nothing more than chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic launch systems that had been built in secret over the past week. It contained no explosives, no advanced technology, just pure kinetic energy traveling at significant fractions of light speed. The alien ships attempted to intercept the projectiles with their energy weapons, but there were too many targets coming from too many directions. The aliens had designed their defenses to handle attacks from other starships, not swarms of simple projectiles launched from a planet's surface. The first projectile struck the ship over New York, punching through its crystal hull like a bullet through glass. The ship didn't explode or crash, but its perfect hovering stability was broken. Emergency lights flickered along its surface as automatic systems struggled to compensate for the damage. On the alien ship, Ambassador Zeth9 staggered as his vessel shook from the impact. His expression showed something humans had never seen from him before: genuine fear. "This is impossible," he transmitted to the other alien ships. "Primitive kinetic weapons should not be able to penetrate our shields." "That's the thing about humans." President Mitchell's voice came back over the communication channel. "We specialize in impossible." The attack continued for exactly 60 seconds. Projectiles struck every alien ship simultaneously. Not enough to destroy them, but enough to prove that Earth could hurt anyone who tried to take it by force. When the barrage ended, the alien ships were damaged, listing, and clearly vulnerable. But the real shock for the aliens came when they realized that the attack had been a demonstration, not a serious assault. Every projectile had been carefully aimed to cause damage without destroying the ships completely. The humans could have killed everyone aboard the alien vessels, but they had chosen to send a message instead. Commander Turner's voice came over the communication channels from the US Journal. "Space Station. Attention all alien vessels." That was a warning shot. The next barrage will be aimed to destroy, not disable. You have 10 minutes to leave Earth's solar system. Dr. Lisa Campbell was monitoring the alien communications from her laboratory, and what she heard confirmed everything they had hoped for. The aliens were panicking. They had never encountered a species that could strike back immediately after declaring independence. "Their internal communications are chaotic," she reported to the command center. "They're arguing about whether to retreat or call for reinforcements. But most importantly, they're afraid. They keep talking about uncontrolled escalation and unpredictable response patterns." The psychological impact was exactly what humanity had planned for. The aliens had expected either quick surrender or a long, predictable siege. Instead, they got immediate, effective retaliation from a species that had been studying their weaknesses for days. Ambassador Zeth9 made one final attempt to regain control of the situation. "Your attack was impressive, but ultimately meaningless. We have reinforcements coming. Other factions have entire fleets en route to claim your world. You cannot fight us all." Captain Rogers, who was now flying his fighter at an altitude that should have been impossible for human aircraft, responded from his cockpit. "Ambassador, you're missing the point. We don't have to fight you all. We just have to make it clear that anyone who wants Earth will have to pay a price they're not willing to pay." The truth of his words became clear as reports came in from deep space monitoring stations. The alien reinforcements that Zeth9 had mentioned were slowing down, changing course, or stopping entirely as news of Earth's response spread through. Their communication networks. Private Joe Adams, still monitoring alien transmissions, provided the most important intelligence of the day. "Sirs, the alien factions are calling off their fleets. They're arguing about whether Earth is worth the cost of a fight against what they're calling an unpredictable aggressive species." General Hayes smiled as she watched the tactical displays showing alien ships beginning to move away from Earth. Turns out the galaxy's most advanced civilizations don't like fair fights any more than anyone else does. The final alien transmission came from Ambassador Zeth9, and his tone carried a mixture of fear, anger, and something that might have been respect. This encounter will be reported to all galactic civilizations. Your species will be marked as dangerously aggressive and unpredictable. Others will be warned about the risks of contact with humanity. President Mitchell's response became the most famous statement in human history. Good. Make sure they understand that Earth is under human protection now. And we're very good at our job. As the alien ships limped away from Earth, disappearing into the depths of space, humanity celebrated its independence. But the real victory wasn't military. It was the realization that freedom was always worth fighting for, no matter how powerful the enemy or how impossible the odds. The galaxy had learned something important about humans that day. They were not the most technologically advanced species in the universe. They were not the strongest, or the fastest, or the smartest.